All right. I think we're good to go. For the ones that are watching this, welcome to. I guess this is episode 2 of what I've decided to just call Let's Talk. And I have with me a really good friend of mine, si Joey Nealega. Welcome, man. How are you doing? How are you doing?
Good, bro. Good. Chilling here in Tagaytay right now.
Yeah,
Just to relax.
just
Yeah.
unwinding. Yeah, yeah. That's good,
Yeah,
man.
yeah, yeah.
So for those that don't know, I know Joey actually kasi parang we really met for the first time. I think. I mean, I knew you through the community. We met and really got to interact more back in like 2017. I think was it
Mm,
2017 when we did that dance video together? Hallucinations,
right.
remember? Yeah.
Oh, I think that was 2018.
Was it 2018?
Yeah,
Oh,
2018.
okay. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And then that was a really funny scene. Was
yeah.
that that was a you were just about to leave for the states, so you really squeezed that session in with me.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was about to go to the boogie zone thing, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Man, I remember I had already seen you take doing classes and things like that. I was just
Mm,
really interested in, your art form and your craft. It was really cool to do that with you. So I guess for people who are meeting you for the first time, maybe you give a little bit of background, right, on yourself as a dancer.
right. Oh, well, okay. Background. Currently, I am the director of a very, very new group called Project Morgan. We started actually we started late. I would say 2018,
Mm-hmm.
like probably November,
Mm-hmm.
and then got caught off for a bit, and then really started it July of 2019, just last year.
Mm.
Yeah, July. So I started recruiting people again. Because when I started it, it was with old friends like sila Ann of
Mm-hmm.
F Studios, yeah, and some other old friends. But I really started recruiting yung mga siguro July
Yeah.
or yeah during that time. And yeah, and then we just decided to join Vibe right away
Yep.
for that year, and yeah, we trained from I mean, we got in and then tried out for Body Rock
Yeah.
just this year, and then yeah, we you know got to compete too. So in a span of I think 3 months or 3 to 6 months, we competed twice.
Yep.
So yeah. And then what else? Background. Part of a team.
Mm-hmm.
No, not as active as before.
Mm-hmm.
I started a team, ano ba? 2017,
Mm-hmm.
I think. 2017. Yeah. What else? Former legacy member.
Mm. Yep.
Yeah, before I started, directing my own crew.
Nice.
Yeah. And well, way back, I guess I started dancing since I was really, really young. I mean, the dancing to NSYNC,
Yeah.
yeah, Backstreet Boys,
Yeah.
you
No,
know,
that's what I want to hear about, right? Because I think
yeah,
most
yeah,
people that are watching this know you already as like all these teams and
mm,
being in classes and being in the community, right? But
right,
I think what's super interesting is to hear about how people sort of started. I think
right,
especially with our batch, like to be
mm,
honest, nowadays you have all these studios, you have all these like open crews, right? Who can
yeah, yeah,
just join and train that way. And I
exactly,
think when we started, or at least for me personally, I mean, you really only had like, especially in the Philippines, you really only had the schools, a few open teams.
mm,
But even before that, like when I was in high school, well, we didn't have studios there. My biggest like intro to dance was You Got Served, right? That was like my spark, and I was like,
right,
oh,
right,
I'm gonna do this. So
yeah,
how was it for you? What was your like your first really like introduction to dance, and then how did you grow from there as a kid?
yeah. As far as I can remember, I was
Mm,
grade three, so I was studying in the school, TFCA.
mm-hmm,
It was a Christian school.
mm-hmm.
Tapos may mga celebrity students like Gab Valenciano was there.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Kapatid niya si singer.
Ah,
Uh,
uh, I'm not familiar with the singers here.
Yeah, well, the singer, tapos sila Mandy Marcos,
Uh-huh.
nandun sila, sa lahat ng Valenciano kids, nandun.
Yep.
Tapos parang, I had classmates who were enrolled sa trumpets.
Mm-hmm.
So parang, tapos yun nga, parang I saw them dancing, ganyan. And then sabi ko, mahilig na ako sa mayaw nun. So
Yep.
parang, nabarkada na ako. And then we started a group called Unique. So there were 5 of us. And then parang we just competed sa school, intergrade, yung mga labanan, ganyan. And then, yun, during that time, parang I learned popping. Yun talaga yung parang first, ko, as in, parang popping talaga. That's the only dance I know.
Yeah.
Parang during that time. Tapos, yun, NSYNC,
Yep.
Bye Bye Bye, everything. Kasi kabisado ko during that time. And then what really sparked me to, parang sabihin na I really like this, was Justin Timberlake's Like I Love You.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yun. Tapos yun ay parang, uy, as in sobrang cool. Parang, syempre Michael Jackson, pero parang sa age ko, parang pa-exit na si Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
Parang hindi. So, I have JT, Usher,
Yep.
yun na. Parang, ano ba yung kay Usher nun? Caught Up, as in sobrang, woo! Yun. Tapos, until grade 6 yun. So, pero I stopped dancing buong high school ko kasi parang I was more into sports during that time.
Yep.
Yeah, so parang during high school, I didn't, get to dance talaga. Tsaka no formal training nung sa grade school, as in yun lang, yung with that group of friends lang. Tapos, fast forward to college, UST, commerce. So there was this freshman orientation night, or freshman orientation. So, nag-perform yung college team namin, college crew, which is commerce dance troupe. So yun, parang doon nag-start ulit ako the plan was to join badminton varsity team sa UST.
Yeah.
Tapos parang nung nakita ko yung crew na sumayaw, sabi ko, parang kaya ko to ah. Tapos parang naano ako ulit. And then yun na, parang naisip ko na siya. And then hanggang sa that, yung team na yun visited my classroom and promoted na they have an audition. So, sabi ko, try ko kaya kasi parang wala nang makawala.
Nice.
And yeah, fast forward, I got to compete. First competition ko, like, yung legit. Kasi yun, inter-college na yun, parang, yun yung parang, siguro yun yung first formal training ko with a team. Si Kuya Eds Isaga pa yung coach namin nun. So yun, parang dun na nag-spit out yung mga terms like crumping and locking and all that. It was all new to me during that time. Parang as in college, I was 15, 16 yata.
Yep.
Yun. I stopped for SEM kasi parang naano na yung mom ko na, oy, gabi ka na mauwi. Yeah, and then another spark was Jabberwockies. Yeah. Yun na. Ang nakakatawa doon, ang nag-introduce ng Jabberwocky sa akin is a friend na hindi dancer. Yeah, so, bro, di ba sumasayaw ka? Kilala mo yung Jabberwockies? Tapos parang, talaga? So, parang bago lang yung YouTube that time eh.
Right.
2008, 2007.
Yep.
So, parang search ako. Hindi ko pa alam yung spelling. Then na-search ko. Then yun na, parang from there, tuloy-tuloy na. As in, college, second year onwards, naging commerce dance, naging Archimers na nag-merge kami. Commerce and Archi, nag-merge kami hanggang sa, yun na. And then, I started dancing sa church na.
Yep.
Yeah, and then, matagal ako doon. Siguro doon ko nakuha yung training sa, doon ko nakuha yung training sa ballet, contemporary.
That's what I was gonna ask. Yeah.
Dun, I was old though. Parang for ballet, it was a late start.
Yeah.
I would say I was 18. I think I was 18 already. So parang at tigas na ng katawan ko. from all the hip hop training or
Uh-huh.
choreography training and all. Pero
Uh-huh.
I eventually, you know, fell in love with the technique.
Yeah, yeah. Well, how long were
Yeah,
you
kasi,
how long were you in that formal style of training for ballet and jazz?
mm, siguro a total of 5 years.
Wow, yeah, yeah.
No, parang once a week lang naman kami nagte-training.
Mm-hmm.
Or kung may mga events or ano, minsan pupunta ako doon, ganyan. Siguro max na mga twice a week.
Yep.
Every weekend, Saturday, Sundays.
You know,
Mm.
one of my biggest things that I had wished that I had sort of started actually was that you know,
Mm.
experimenting with the formal styles a bit. Because
Right.
when I came, same as you, parang it was. I mean, I was inspired by again, like you got served, JT also at the
Right.
time. Yung sa
Mm-mm.
kanya specifically, my love. You know,
Oh, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and then yung mga solo
Yeah,
niya sa
yeah, yeah.
VMAs, just wow. But I
Mm-mm.
had always wished that I had the training in formal styles like ballet or jazz, just because the I've always found that you know, especially with street, it's so you're able to kind of open up your style a bit. So
Right.
you have a little bit of freedom, I think, in terms of interpretation, right?
Mm-hmm.
With whatever works with your body or which songs you choose to sort of interpret, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with styles like, you know, ballet, like there's a specific form, and I've always found that, you know,
Yeah.
it's going to be easier for somebody to break form than it is for you to build it. You know, well,
Mm-hmm.
that's how I look at it. Maybe for some people it's vice versa, right? But
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
you know what I mean.
Definitely.
But that's
Mm-hmm.
the thing that I had always was really interested in. So I'm super, like, that's awesome that you did that. And so how did that? You mean when you're making your choreography now, are you thinking about those movements like on purpose, or does it just kind of come naturally, or does it not even is it not even involved in your choreo process?
Ah, I think kasi my training is more, I mean, my formal training is more on, the line, ano na, technique side na.
Yeah.
So parang, my choreo adapted to it. Kasi I didn't really have any formal training sa hip-hop or choreography. So
Okay.
parang, so, yung formal training ko pumapasok sa choreo process ko, which is yung sa lines na nga. So
Yeah.
parang, yeah, parang na-realize ko siya when I started, yun na nga, teaching outside,
Yeah.
is yung balance, yung lines, so parang, yeah, mas I'm leaning more on my technical side, though I'm not compared to other technical dancers, as in ang layo ko sa kanila. So parang I'm someone in the middle, no, parang
Mm,
walang formal training sa street style, tapos parang not too technical. Kaya
right.
parang siguro dun ko inano yung style ko in between, na parang since I can't do, I'm not the best at both. Ano,
Yeah. Yeah.
parang siguro I'm just gonna make my own, I guess. Parang siguro yun yung parang ano ko. Yun yung parang ano sa akin when I started teaching sa F, kasi yun yung first ano ko talaga, studio class,
Yeah.
na parang ano kung gagawin ko,
Mm-hmm.
what sort of style am I gonna give out to the community, na kasi parang yung sa church I was known as the hip hop guy, na
Mm-hmm.
parang okay, na nung paglabas ko na parang, uy, parang hindi yata ako hip hop guy, kasi parang nakita ko yung mga tao na ito yung street, or parang somehow medyo ng ano ko natakot ako to show that na hindi pala ako hip hop, hindi pala ako street, ganun. So parang, yeah, parang may ganung ano sa akin, when I was starting. So yun, na parang I decided to, um settle in the middle of both styles na somehow naaral ko naman.
Nice. Yeah. So you definitely so like your approach was really to just to focus on developing a certain style, no, a certain look that's
Mhm.
your own, no. What was there? And
Yeah.
so when you're talking about like the classes, right? And you would approach the class.
Mhm.
How, like, what's your process like? For example, is it the same process when you are about to do choreography for a class, or is it different if, let's say, you're gonna do it for yourself, like personally. Just to give you an example is like, for example, if I'm going to teach a class sometimes, I guess a lot of it depends on the kind of class you're teaching, right? Like if you're teaching to
Right.
students, like if it's a basic class or things like that. But if, let's say I was just to teach a choreo class, sometimes what I would do is my process is there are some choreographies that I'll do that are solely for the purpose of me to explore and go off of the movement that I'm familiar with. And then I think sometimes it'd be too much of a challenge if I give it to somebody else because they haven't worked with my movement set. And so when I go to a class, sometimes it's like, all right, what if it's enough of if there's enough vocab there that they're going to be able to get as well. So what's your process like? Is it different or is it the same when you're choreographing for yourself and then when you're doing it for a class?
Right. Yeah, it's different because, well, ano ba? For a class, kasi when I was starting, I mostly teach open classes, parang workshops. So parang when I was starting, I wasn't really thinking about that. Gusto ko lang magawa yung whatever, the process is just to create a choreo and then ituro, at first. And then eventually, when I was until now, kunyari nag-start na yung Project Morgan, di ba? So, the difference is, I guess, mas free na ako sa mga tao sa choreo class. As much as I can share yung technique and all, pero lagi, most of the time sa classes ko, just, be yourself, do your own. Kasi, parang raw yung take ko sa choreography ko. So parang, just, if you can't do this technique as a contemporary artist would do it. Kunyari street ka, just do it as your as street style, parang ganon. Na with syempre parang getting some of the techniques that I'm trying to teach a class, ganyan. And yun, it depends din. If I see the student na parang they really kunyari may certain class na hirap sila eh. Alam mo yun, parang hindi nila nadidig yung ganung technical So parang yun, go free. Pero pag nakikita ko yung class na parang up for that challenge na kahit mag-floor works, gulong-gulong sila dyan. Yun, parang ganun. And then iba pa yung kunyari yung summer workshops, ganun. Syempre kasi yun, they enrolled for that specific style. So yun, parang medyo mas nagde-drill ako sa technique. Yun.
That's cool, man. So Sorry. I was gonna say just to kind of, I know you brought up a great point, which is like, parang the difference in when you were with your team, right, and then you get to do a class. There's just more freedom, right? Like you said, parang you don't have to be so contained. Kasi parang a lot of times you have to think for your team. You're thinking about what works. Ano yung makukuha ng lahat, and then when you're doing a class, it's sort of like if your intent, for example, for that class is for them to explore. Right, there's more freedom to sort of work within their natural movement framework. So actually, this is a question that just came to mind while you were talking, which is this: like, how do you balance, let's say in your class, where there's enough freedom, right, for them to sort of interpret your stuff, but not so much where it's like, okay, like parang iba na yung, you know what I mean? Like iba na yung yung parang, so I guess you don't like my choreo, no?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So how do you balance that?
Nung una, parang, medyo nagsistruggle ako dyan. Parang ganyan. And eventually, parang learning from other choreographers when I'm taking class, diba? So parang, at first, yun na parang, lines to ng mga choreographer. I'm gonna give you the skeleton first of the choreo, diba? Parang, parang ganun na ako nagsa-start. Intro ko is, aralin niyo muna yung choreo. Like the technique I'm gonna give you. And then play within that box, yung technique and yung skeleton ng choreo. And then once you're comfortable with it, bahala ka na sa buhay mo. Parang ganun. Sa class. At least sa workshop. Ganun siya. Kasi sayang naman na they took my class and then they came out na they just did their own thing lang. Na
Yeah.
choreo ko, pero wala silang nakuhang technique, wala silang nakuhang, like, yung how I actually do the choreo, ganyan.
Yeah.
So, parang, um, just a balance of, okay, kunyari, first part na to, aralin nyo muna as is, like, kung paano ko siya ginagawa.
Mm-hmm.
And then, kapag sinabi ko na, ito, may bala na kayo dito sa part na to.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for this part, it's a freestyle ng 4 counts, ganyan. So, parang ganun ko siya binabalance lang sa, very simple. Parang, basta, gusto ko, kunyari for that class, feel ko yung technique ko na gusto kong ituro sa kanila.
Yep.
Yun, take that muna.
Yep.
Kasi para rin may makuha sila. Para na, when they go out of the studio na parang, okay, nakututunan ko to kay Kuya Joey, kay Joey, parang ganun. And then, after pag nag-runs na, if you still wanna stay in that, depende sa'yo kung if you wanna learn that technique, as in, if you wanna dance the way I do it, or parang you want that freedom to, to express it. It depends din sa choreo na nagagawa ko.
That's true. It depends, right? If you're gonna have some choreography that's like just open talaga to being. I like what you said because you said so one, right? Like really when it comes to that balance, it's finding. Parang at least when you look at it, you can still see the framework. You know what I mean? Like it's not so different. And also two, and then two is like you gave it pockets. You gave it pockets of freedom too. So parang there's that structure of like ito choreography. So parang have at it, parang this is your time to explore. And then we come back to structure, which is actually really cool, man.
Right.
So I mean jumping off of that, let's talk about that. You kind of expanded a little bit on like, the choreo process as a solo choreographer, right? And obviously now you're directing a team. How different is that when you're doing it for your class or for yourself, and then now you're doing it for your team, or is it different?
Yeah, it's different in terms of being parang stricter on the technique. Kasi parang kanyari, syempre, you have this much freedom sa classes.
Yeah.
Diba? So you can do your own thing and all. Syempre sa team, especially if you're competing, you need to be in the same frequency, kumbaga.
Yeah.
Parang, yeah, of course, parang, we're gonna drill this choreo, kunyari, this 8 na floor works. And of course, I need everyone to be the same, diba? So parang, I'm much more stricter, much more patient, kasi parang, the guys that I have in the team doesn't really have the same training that I had. So, kumbaga, parang inaano ko pa sa kanila yon, parang dinidrill ko pa sa kanila.
Yeah.
And when we started, yung mga choreo ko, it's more details to it. Kasi when I choreograph sa classes, hindi ako ma-details, ma-flow ako. The lines. Yung details ko na yung lines ko. Pero parang since I'm new to directing then, I wanted to also challenge myself na parang may structure.
Yeah.
Versus a rawness. Kasi parang, watching different teams, kahit, kunyari, other teams na sobrang solid nila kahit raw sila.
Yeah.
Kasi parang structured pa rin. Parang gano'n. Yung nakikita ko sa mga ibang teams. So parang, yun. Parang at the same time, challenge ko yung choreo ko to be, parang I would say not different, parang leveling up din in terms of how I kunyari if I do this choreo lang na sobrang raw, kunyari sa pyesa is more, more detailed. Like end to end ganun. Tapos syempre still being true to myself, may mga parts din na going raw. So yun, ang difference ko is I'm thinking about my pieces sa team more parang tinuturo ko na siya sa sarili ko before I kasi parang gusto kong i-break down sa team para kahit raw yung choreography ko, we can still, look as a team when we
Yeah.
perform it on stage. Parang ganun.
And that's actually a really difficult thing, to accomplish. And I
Yeah.
don't think people think, like, if people watch it and maybe, parang to somebody they might think that, oh, that's not as hard, but it's actually very difficult. You guys are one of the few teams that I know I can watch you guys, and parang all the movements are different. Like parang
Mm,
nag-iba yung but you can tell, like, kabit, like the structure, like what you
right.
found was the structure in the rawness a little bit. It's
Mm,
crazy kasi, like, I grew up, when we say, oh, parang you have a move na ay parang hindi bagay sa lahat, so parang, o di lagay
right.
natin ng line or lahat tayo mag-down. That's
Mm,
like that's usually the progress of how that goes when you're trying to clean a routine it. But
exactly.
the way when you guys do it, yung parang structure, it's a very tricky thing, because it's like you have to find balance, right? Between okay, do we go individual here? Tapos do
Mm-hmm.
we go more team oriented here?
Right.
And I'm
Yeah.
sure, right? Like parang even spacing and blocking. Now you've had to think about that as well.
Mm-hmm.
How has that impacted your style? Now that you're staging people accordingly.
Right. Actually, ang hirap pala niya. Alam mo yun, parang, I've done staging before, pero parang as for a competing team, parang, alam mo yun, sometimes, so the way we train is, we do the choreo first and then stage later. I was learning through, by doing it. Yeah, alam mo yun, parang,
Mm-hmm.
as a new director na parang I'm realizing things on the spot.
Mm-hmm.
Siyempre, I planned it. I planned the staging and all. Pero yun nga, I was saying kanina, doesn't always work. Most of the time, it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Kasi parang you have this imagination in your head na parang, shit, di pala nag-work.
Yeah.
Parang, alam mo yun. So, style-wise, it didn't really affect, I guess, my
Yeah.
style.
Uh-huh.
Kumbaga, my staging adjusted to my style, I think.
Yep.
Mas nag-adjust yung staging ko, ganun.
Nice.
Yeah, enjoy siya.
Yeah. Are you taking, I mean, obviously you said, like, this is like a new process for you, right? And so with that, I'm sure, I don't know if maybe you get, like, you ask feedback from your peers, or, like, oh, what do you think of this part and that? So how do you
Right.
know, like, sort of like, okay, I'm gonna tweak it so it's all understood. And then how do you know, like, as a director, like, okay, they might not see it, but this is the vision that I'm really aiming for. So I'm gonna try and shoot for
Mm-mm.
that button. How do you find that balance?
Okay. So for Vibe, yung first competition namin as a team, I asked people to watch it. So, kasi sa ano yun Ateneo. Sa Ateneo kami na-block. Doon din pala yung Vibe, no? Sa
Yeah.
yeah, so, nag-ano na kami doon na to block before the competition. So I invited, so I had Jessie there, who else? Si Danny, of course. Tapos si Paul Fausto was there.
Yeah.
Some other people. Yun, so, kasi nga, before the competition, gusto ko ng feedback from, outside people na makakanood. Yeah. Actually, Jesse and Danny really helped a lot during that yung process na yun. Dami kong na-edit. So, I think I had a week to edit pa. Yun. So, yun. Tapos, between yun nga, yung sa mga yung vision ko, yun, kung hindi talaga nila nag-gets. Kasi I explain my ano rin kasi. Yung sa piece na yun, kanyari na sila.
Yeah.
I think, I still get yung insights nila. Pero at the same, gusto kong ma-maintain yung yung vision. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Alam mo yun, parang at least yung for me, parang gusto ko ano yung process na yun.
Yeah.
I want to learn it myself na kahit the hard way, kumbaga. Kasi, it's different naman for everyone. So
yeah, and that's the biggest thing, right? That's the biggest thing about, as a dancer. It's always it's always a balance, I think, really of doing enough so that it's your personal thing.
right.
Also trying to manage, like, okay, how do I communicate this well so people all understand? But
Exactly.
but at the end of it, I mean, the whole reason you started dancing in the first place was, for yourself, right? And then it
Exactly.
just kind of expanded from there. And that's
Right.
usually like even for me, that's my personal approach to, like, let's say even if it was a competition, at the end of it, it's like we will hit the little things that we have to hit in terms of format requirements, but at
Right.
the end of the day, we're just gonna try and do something that we enjoy and that we
Mm.
understand as a team, you know.
Yeah.
So that's really the good thing. That's great,
Yeah.
great to hear, man, that you're learning. You know, you're learning, you're applying. It's a new process for you. That's really
Mm.
awesome. I was gonna
Yeah.
ask, actually, I meant to ask this earlier, but you know, in terms of learning, right? I wanted to ask when you're taking class, let's say,
Mm-hmm.
you know, choreography class, you drop in. What are you hoping to sort of learn or take away, or how do you sort of choose the classes that you're gonna take, or the movements you're gonna explore? What goes through your head when you're doing that?
Yeah. I think I have different phases. So, sometimes I'm taking classes to see how a teacher teaches.
Ah,
Yeah, yung kumbaga parang kung how they, structure their classes. Depends kung workshop, kung choreo class lang siya, kung intensive siya,
mhm.
gano'n. Kasi, I wanna, best practices, also yung mga practices na doesn't work for me as a student, gano'n. So parang I always try to be a student para I'm still aware on parang on how a student would see you as a teacher, parang gano'n.
Yeah.
So parang yun, sometimes skills, techniques, lalo na sa choreography. Kunyari, uh, parang feeling ko stagnant na ako sa style ko.
Mm-hmm.
Yun, uh, I attend classes that aren't really my strong suits. Kunyari kapag, most of the time I attend Jesse's classes kapag ganun. Kasi parang, alam mo yun, ewan ko, I find Jesse's flow and flavor
Mm.
classes really challenging. Kasi sobrang different siya sa style ko.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, syempre, sometimes to support a friend.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. But
mm,
it's cool, man. Like, I like what you said about how you. I mean, it's really like it dawned on me. I was like, wow, you take a class just to see how people are teaching too, right? And
yeah,
it
yeah.
improves your teaching process. I
Oo.
think because like if I look back, for example, you know, and you mentioned because like being with different teams and sort of learning that way, and then going into class and teaching, and you
Mm,
know, for me, because in UP Street we had sort of all these seniors above us who had been teaching for such a long time already. So we had like these sort of best practices, and we would even have like a literally like a structured program in terms of like you had to sort of count the number of hours that you were assisting a senior, right,
right.
before you even were given the opportunity to teach. And then even after that, parang let's say ano magtuturo ka na, they do like this weird funny exam where you're teaching all of the seniors, and they're all acting like kids, like teacher, teacher, he hit me, or like teacher, that's so hard. As in, and then you have to sort of deal with that. But I think that's something that's really important to note, right? And I think it's a good takeaway from this conversation, which is like um,
Mm,
you're consistently trying to find ways to teach better, and at the same time, sometimes it takes being a student again to understand how it you know flows for you. And I think
right.
you know you sometimes in classes out there, it'll be easy to just go, and then you know it's really like I've taken a class before where the choreographer only just wanted to get to the second part so that they could parang rush through it and then have that
Right.
be a part of their solo, right, when they
Mm,
perform. I'm okay. I don't want to like. It's not a bad thing. That's just the way they choose
right.
to conduct their class, right?
Exactly.
But I've also experienced classes where um, the teacher's just going to spend more time just you know reiterating the movements, the steps, the counts, and sometimes it gets to a point where, oh my gosh, this is boring. But you
Right.
look at your execution, you're like, oh wow, I really mastered this in the time
Mm-hmm.
given.
Mm-hmm.
So that, I think it's a great takeaway is being able to
Right.
see how different instructors teach,
Yeah.
and grabbing the little learnings from there. That's cool, man. Um, so I wanted to take a shift from dance because I think again, you're one of the few dancers that I know, and we talked about this before, who's
Mm-hmm.
also doing different things, right? And for those that don't know and are watching this for the first time, like Joey's been sort of also handling business on the side. And so maybe you could tell a little bit
Right.
about your background in sort of that field in terms of exploring business ventures.
Okay. Yeah. So originally, kasi before dance, I always wanted to have my own business. Kaya I took up entrepreneurship.
Mm.
So I've always wanted to have my own business. Well, after college, I worked my entire after college life.
Mm-hmm.
Yun. So I only decided to pursue business na talaga is, I mean, because I wanted to do dance full time.
Mm.
So I wanted something to support my passion. So I decided to the easy I thought na the easiest way to, you know, establish a quick business is to franchise.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah. I went to an expo to you know, search for the right business.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I ended up franchising a, a lemonade stand, a
Mm-hmm.
cart, you know. Yun. That was back in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I also started to pursue dance na talaga. So, tama ba? So, yeah. Kasi side note, I only actually started dance in the community 2016. Mga ganun.
Mm-hmm.
Late 2015, 2016. Na parang doon lang ako talaga naging active sa community. You know? Anyways, so a year after, this was after body rock. Kasi yun
Yeah.
yung time na nakapag-body rock ako with 18. Na parang sabi ko, oh shit, I wanna do this. Parang ganun, alam mo yun. So parang right after body rock, so pag-uwi, nag-resign ako. Like,
Uh-huh.
I rendered
Yeah.
resignation and all this. So yun, parang I started training lang. Wala pa akong business on. Kasi July yun eh.
Yeah.
So, July, November of 2017, dun na
Mm-hmm.
nag-start.
Mm-hmm.
Yun. So for sure, I mean, during the time, it really went well. Alam mo yun?
Mm-hmm.
Kasi inumin, very easy to make.
Yeah.
Tapos I was in the cinema.
Mm-hmm.
Yun. Tapos yun na, eventually parang yung girlfriend ko that time na my wife now, nag-open na rin siya ng stand niya sa SM North.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yun, nag-expand na rin ng parang sa Mega Mall, ganyan.
Yeah.
Tapos yun, parang, it did sustain me,
Yeah.
you know, and more.
Yeah.
Siguro parang talagang na-support. And then, I was also earning on the side sa dance.
Yes.
So, kumbaga parang, I was doing okay. I was doing okay.
That's
Alam mo
good.
yun, parang...
Talk about a little bit, because like, man, franchising is super interesting. You know, I've always
Right.
thought about it from a business perspective, but you know, what were like the challenges that you encountered when you did, whether it's franchise or business in general, right? Na parang when you started doing this, like things that you had no idea about, and then you like kind of had to learn on the spot.
Right.
What's that?
Una, challenge is getting permits.
Yes.
Alam mo yun, like, man. So, at first, parang kumbaga, barangay permit, mayor permit, business permit, and all sanitary and everything. It's challenging, and also it's costs a lot, man.
Yeah.
As in, mahal pala siya. Yung mayor's permit and all, BIR. Yun, medyo challenging sa akin yung BIR side. Kasi,
just like knowing the process, right? Like parang
yeah,
knowing what,
dude.
because there's really nothing out there where you can like step 1, step 2, step 3. Parang it's a lot of like you get to one step, tas magtanong ka, tapos next step, or ano na next, ganun, right?
Exactly, bro. So parang yung franchisor was kind enough to endorse me to his accountant.
Mm-hmm.
So parang for the BAR side, I hired a professional.
Yeah.
Kasi if matyaga ka to do it on your own, then good for you. But if not, if you don't want to miss on your taxes and all, alam mo na, mahirap na.
Yeah.
If may capacity naman yung business mo to hire a third party to do it, then do it para malinis na siya.
Yeah.
And then the good thing about that is tinuruan din ako how to keep my books and all.
Mm-hmm.
So yun, parang eventually natutunan ko naman siya. Pero yun, it's always easier to, just give out your receipts and then okay na, naka-file na.
And but the process was easier, but with having that franchise, or because like I guess that's a big difference, right? When you're building a business for the first time, you kind of have to do all these things and make them up as you go. But when you have a franchise, or you have like, what are they giving you? Like the supplies? Are they giving you like brand, all of that? What goes with it?
It's so much easier because you just give them the money and then they're gonna bring in the supplies, diba? So parang yung starting capital ko, it wasn't that that big during that time. Oh, medyo siya, medyo for a 4 square meter medyo mahal siya.
Well, it's also the location, then it, right, where you put it.
Yeah. Actually, yung location is very good. It's very cheap.
Oh wow, okay.
It's in Santa Lucia Mall. Anyway, so the good thing about that franchise kasi bago yung brand na yun, it was just starting to boom. Tapos parang yung lemonade na was starting to boom din eh. So parang ang dami nagle-lemonade siya. Parang isa siya sa yung mga parang na-establish talaga. Anyway, yun. Easy thing is yun nga, if you have the money na kunyari may capital ka na, it's just gonna give you everything.
Yep.
Yung risky part lang dun is if yun nga, kung bago yung business na yun, so parang nag-explore pa rin siya. So may delays, which I experienced. So I mentioned I opened November na dapat original starting date ko was September.
Yeah.
So yun yung mga delay. Parang out of your hands na kasi parang since napapasikaso ko sa ibang tao.
Yeah.
Then it's out of your hands. All you can do is update.
And they're still figuring it out kasi medyo bago din sila, di ba? Yung parang process with franchisees.
Exactly, yun. Downside is yun nga, you don't have really the control with setting it up.
Yep.
Tapos medyo risky nga kasi if that business goes down, edi ikaw din. Pero yun, pero during that time, it was the easiest for me, like what I said, kasi nga, I wanted to kickstart my dance career right away. So, I didn't have to do a business plan anymore.
Yeah.
All I needed to do is, make sure that that business is, doing well. So, yun, I went to their stores. Madami na siyang stores din nun eh. SM, some Robinsons na malls, ganun. So, parang I stayed in their stores for a good time na parang just to check the flow.
Yeah,
yun. So, yun. Tapos, supply is very easy kasi you just have to, text. Again, yun lang din. What my biggest problem during that time was supplies kasi parang hindi siya ready sa mag-expand. So, ang dami niyang nakuhang franchisees na para the supplies are really delayed. So, especially, kunyari, I opened Justice League eh. So, parang blockbuster kasi as in, the first day ko Justice League. As in, talagang boom. 100 cups kagad lahat. Tapos naubos kagad ng supplies. The next day, parang half day ko, wala akong supplies. So parang that went on for a month, I guess, until, sabi ko, I know we agreed on this, kunyari na I cannot get supplies from other suppliers, pero my business is being affected, so parang kukuha na ako. So parang wala siya nagawa. Parang, alam mo yun, so, yun din, kahit na franchise siya, of course, like any babies, diba, you need to give it time, feed it.
Yes.
So yun, parang medyo nabawasan din yung training days ko nun. Kasi nga, nagko-closing. Nandun ako sa buong time ng business kasi I wanted to see the flow.
Yeah.
Parang iniwan ko siya. Alam ko yung amount ng mga, kunyari, especially sa money. Parang kunyari, bakit ito lang yung pera? Kung ito yung nabenta natin. Alam mo yun? So parang sa number ng nabenta, sa inventory and all. So kumbaga when I see the books, kahit wala ako dun sa store, parang maalam ko kung nagma-match or hindi. So talagang I still, gave it time na, syempre yun na nga talaga parang business na yun eh.
Yeah. And I think you touched on a great point too, is like, I think a lot of people have this idea, and I don't know if this is true, you can answer for yourself, but like,
Mm.
when we're thinking about business, right? Is there ever a point where, you know, you can just kind of be like, all right, like, takbo na yan.
Oo.
Is it one of those things where it's eventual, but you're not there yet? Or is it one of those things like, you're not sure if it'll ever be that way because it's still a business? Like, what's your thought on that?
Right.
What's your approach?
I think it depends on the business and it depends on you as a person na kunyari, kung may ginagawa ka pang iba.
Mm,
As much as possible, nandun ka sa
mm,
business mo. Kasi, ano yan eh, it's gonna take, kahit na parang kunwari nag-boom ka agad, parang ang thinking ko, it wouldn't last forever. Laging ganun. If you're not parang like in your business,
mm.
mahirapan ka to ano eh, to know what to adjust on, kumbaga why it's not working like it used to, parang ganun. So I would say whatever your purpose is for your business, for sure your main purpose is to make money. So you
Yeah.
really need to invest time. As in talagang you
Yeah.
need to
Like, it's like not never really gonna go away. You know, you kind of have to just,
yeah.
whether it's you personally or you have somebody who's gonna oversee it, who you check in with,
Mm,
parang it's always gonna
yeah.
something you're gonna have to take care of. That makes sense. That makes sense. Cool.
Yeah, yun.
Um,
Talagang ganun.
so let's talk a little bit about how you like for so obviously at this time right now you maybe you have dancers who are now I've talked to some who are exploring business opportunities, especially in the time that we're in.
Right.
So like for you personally, what is you know, you don't have to talk about it in the context of now, but just in general, especially then, and how you sort of grew through it. But how do you balance managing a business and your dance, your dance?
Mm, you just have to really, like what you do. Kasi
Huh?
parang, yeah, kunyari, I majored in business, so parang passion ko rin siya talaga. Alam mo
Okay.
yun? So,
Yeah.
at the same time, dance is obviously my passion. Well, on balancing it, it's just, you really have to, work double time eh. Parang harder than usual. Like, kunyari, kung yung businessman is working hard for his business to grow, you need to work as hard as that businessman. Tapos, kunyari, yung dancer trains this hard. Parang ganun ka rin dapat. Pero at the
Yeah.
same time, managing your time. Siguro, I hindi ako magaling mag-manage ng time. As in, I wouldn't say I'm an organized person. Pero yun nga, it teaches you how to be.
Yeah.
Alam mo yun? Yeah. I would, most of the time, or there are times na talagang ayokong pumunta sa sa store kasi pagod ako from training.
Yeah.
Alam mo yun? Pero at least parang ako, I have to spend at least 2 hours, 3 hours in sa business to to check on it and
But
then leave for training. Go ahead.
what let's say if like on a daily basis, right, you have to encounter a lot of
Mm.
decisions between the dance, your dance, and also the business. So on a what do you think more often are you having to sort of sacrifice between those two? Like if you're like,
Uh,
"Oh, shoot, I have to give up this thing because I dance, or no, I can't go to my business right now. What do you think?
it depends on yung commitment na kailangan. Kunyari, I have a gig or kunyari I have
Uh-huh.
a competition. Syempre, I give more time doon.
Mm,
More effort doon. Pero kunyari, if like normal days,
yeah.
I make sure to check on my business,
Yeah.
like yung books ko, yung sales and all, yung tao ko, kung kamusta ba siya, kung okay lang ba siya.
Yeah.
Yun. Pero yun, I think what I can, give out to the people who are trying or who wants to do dance in business, na you just find your flow. May kanya-kanya kasi tayong flow eh. So parang
Mm,
ako, I found it after siguro mga 6 months. Pero
yeah.
syempre, I wouldn't say it's a solid Pero yun, parang I found my flow on how to deal with my business and then dance. Alam mo
Yep.
yun? Yun. Tapos may times na nadadala ko yung business ko sa mga dance events. Alam mo
Yeah,
yun,
yeah, yeah.
parang,
And it works. Yeah, and it,
right?
yeah,
So yun,
yeah,
parang, kasi hindi naman strictly, parang, if I can only do dance as a business, like a studio or merch and all, pero hindi eh. Parang, I chose another, um, uh, what do you say? How do you say this? Parang another, uh, parang ibang product.
yep,
Not, para, it's also, for me, parang, okay din siya. Kasi parang, nahihiwalay mo siya.
yeah.
Segregate mo yun.
No, I like your. I think there's one time after class, like your lemonade stand was there, right? And
Yeah.
like it. I always say it's like the best thing to have like afterwards, and it's not
Right.
like you're like a hot chocolate business, right? Or like selling
It's-
polvoron,
right, right.
right? Like right after class, and then you're.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Oh,
it's
exactly.
super refreshing. I love it, man. I think
Mm,
you touched on it too. Great. That your flow is eventually it's going to be different for everybody, and I think the
mm-mm.
most important thing that you did was just kind of start and then sort of navigate that as you went.
Yeah.
And I think when you say managing time, for me it's the same also. But there are some days, for example, where I feel like I want to get enough work done, and then like I'm in like this
Right.
work mode, right? And this literally happens. Like sometimes in the beginning of the day, I think, all right, I'm gonna do work, then dance, and do this. More often than
Mhm.
not, what usually happens is that's either puro work or like just because
Yeah.
like it's
Yeah.
hard to like get out there once you're in that
Mm-mm.
zone. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Totoo. If you're in
But
the zone na parang business, parang, I don't wanna
yeah,
get out of that zone kasi
yeah,
parang, ano mo na.
yeah. I tried scheduling it. Like I tried scheduling like, oh, okay, 8 to 10 is gonna be this. Like 11 to 12 will
Mm.
be that. And I'm like, if it's
Yeah.
scheduled, I'm gonna commit to that. But again, like what I've realized is, you just kind of have to go. You just gonna have to go with the flow and just see how you plan out. One thing I've
Yeah.
realized as well personally has been the difference between what I would call task versus outcome, right?
Mm-mm.
And so this is a concept that I learned when I was working and try to apply it in my daily work now, which is like sometimes we fill our heads with just a bunch of tasks. Like for
Right.
example, you need to get on the phone with somebody so that they can give you the supply, right? And so you tell your person, say, oh, sabihin mo siya na we need that supply.
Yeah.
And that person says, you follow them up and they go, wala pa yung supply. What did you do? Tinext ko. I'm like, well,
Mm-mm.
you know where he lives. Why don't you go to him? Or parang, sige, i-email ko. And then you do all these little
Right.
things. Wala pa din. But at the end of the day, the outcome is you just need your supply. So if that means you go over there, whether
Mm-mm.
he's home or not, and then you pick up the supply yourself and you bring it back. You know what I mean? That's just an example, but
Yeah.
that's something that's been helpful for me is like, am I doing something that's just kind of like a tick box, like parang a check off?
Exactly.
Or am I
Mm-mm.
doing something that's like, parang I want to get an outcome out of this and that's the end result
Right.
I'm aiming for, you know what I mean?
Mm-mm.
So that was helpful for me personally. But
Mm-mm.
I think it's great to define that as you go along, especially when you're building a business.
Yeah.
Now let's talk a little bit about like as a dancer, right? And now you do your dance and you manage a team, and then now you also have your business. What are the similarities in doing that? Doing that, like parang, what are the similar learnings or your approach to like when you're running a team, you're running a dance, and then you're also building a
Right.
business. What's similar there?
I was new in business, tapos parang I'm new into directing. What I can say is you really need to invest, time to it na parang, kasi, uh, I think parang you're just gonna learn everything while you're going through it. Parang ganun ako eh, parang learning through experience, ganun. Ano ba difference? I wouldn't say there's, kasi parang I'm trying to separate siya as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
To para hindi siya, I don't want to make similarities out of it as much as possible kasi
Yeah.
I wanted to, I wanted this to be business, and then I don't want to
Right.
handle my team like a business. Parang ganun.
That's a
Parang,
really yeah.
yeah, parang ganun. Kasi kumbaga, sige, if I'm gonna make money out of this sa dance, that's parang extra na lang siya.
Yeah.
Pero
Yeah.
kaya nga ako nag-business is para I don't want that pressure of, kasi kapag iba eh, pag may money involved, for me sa akin lang to, sa dance, parang nag-iiba yung intentions eh.
Yeah.
Uh, maybe for some yun iba, pero kumbaga for some they're living off dancing. Eh.
Yeah,
Parang
yeah, yeah,
nothing against that. Pero if I have since I have that option to
yeah,
to choose,
yeah,
yun parang I'm trying to segregate my life na parang i-pocket siya,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
compartmentalize. Yun
yeah, yeah.
parang ganun as
And
much as possible.
I love your answer because it was something
Mm,
that I wasn't even thinking about, but it's super
right.
important, right? Which is that parang you're not translating your mindset of a business into the things that you're doing in terms
Mm-hmm.
of dance. I mean,
Right.
obviously there is dance business, which is a separate thing, but because the thing that you're doing with Project Morgan is like it's a thing that you love to do with people
Mm,
in a community, and it's a
right.
very different approach, right? Parang, and I think that's something to always continually remind ourselves, especially if you're a dancer and a business, that if you're doing both of these, there's a certain mindset that you have when you're in your business, and then there's a different mindset I think you're going to take on when you go back into your dance world, especially if you're with a community of people.
Right.
So
Exactly.
the thing that I was really more of asking about was like the similarities was like more on like theoretical, like
Mm,
that like with dance, there's no sort of guardrails. You're free to explore, right? And
right.
so with
Right.
business, like that's sort of like what I was
Mm,
trying to think about, like parang,
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
a
I got you.
business, you can also explore.
Mm-mm.
Maybe in dance, it takes a lot of communication, right?
Right.
To really, especially when you're dealing with a team, parang a lot
Mm-mm.
of one-on-ones, and I think it's
Yeah.
also just as important in a business, that if you're
Right.
with your employees or whoever they
Right.
are, that idea of communicating with them really has to translate as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so those are some of the things that parang that come to mind
Right.
when I think of it that way. So do you think, is there anything else that comes to mind in terms of just purely theoretical, right?
Mm-hmm.
With dance and business?
Uh, sa totoo lang, parang,
Or think of it this way. Think of it this way. Think of it this way.
mm,
There's a dancer na gusto niya mag-try mag-business, right? And you want to encourage him and say, look, man, yung skills mo dito sa dance, right?
right.
Or yung na-learn mo dito through that, maka-carry over here. What are some of those things that might be helpful?
Mm. Uh, cliche pero parang so parang pagiging hardworking, I guess.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Parang yeah, if you train hard, you also have to work hard for your business. And if you're working, yun din, it's a job. What is ano ba? Depende if how you manage things eh. Kunyari, sa business mo, you need to be keen sa details like inventory, sales.
Hmm.
Alam mo yun? Just like, sige, medyo fino-force ko tong ano ko.
It's
At
all
the
good.
same time, alam mo yun, parang sa pagdidirect is or pag-handle ng team, you also have to pay attention to details. Like sa tao, more on tao.
Hmm.
Like, do you see this guy na parang, kasi for me, sa pag-handle ng team, more on tao siya eh.
Hmm.
More on people skills. Bukod sa dance And then, syempre sa business din, though you have your employees. Kasi, pero, the difference is, you're not paying your team.
Mm-hmm.
Sa employees mo, parang you expect them to work this way. Kasi I mean, they're working for it. They're getting paid doing it. But at the same time, syempre parang, yun nga, if you're, kumbaga sa tao, you have to check if parang, are they still okay doing this and all. Alam mo na, parang ganun. Tapos, yun, attention to details, um, ano ba?
I think a good,
Management.
yeah, I think
Uh-huh.
a good
Go ahead.
management, yeah, and I think a
Mm.
good word that comes to mind is yung parang, I think you're trying to say is like yung tansya, na parang,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
oo,
Like hindi
parang
ko,
tatansya yun.
yung parang sa dance team, tatansya mo siya if
Mm.
if this segment is for them or not, or like
Yeah.
parang if nakikita nila yung vision that you're going for, or whatever aspect that might be with your employees, ganun din, parang tatansya mo, like you have to. I think the people skills, right? I think they
Mm-mm.
translate in both places.
Yes.
The ability to deal with people on a daily basis when you're directing a team, and then dealing with
Right.
them with your. Although you pointed out a great point, which is yun nga, parang the it can also be very very different because nga, there is no like payment on your dance team. You know,
Yeah.
they're of their free mind. They choose to be there. That's why they want it. You know, they show up because it's part of their driven passion, and you have that
Exactly.
context when you jump into a conversation with them. Whereas when you're with your employees, parang, you know, they're only going to work, but so much to the point that they feel that they're earning what that's parang they're earning what's based on, you know, the output that they're doing, basically. You know what I mean?
That's right. Yeah.
So
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 siguro dagdag parang how you can adjust sa certain scenarios kaya sa team parang if things are not working kaya sa competition piece parang
right.
if this doesn't work based on the criteria alam mo na parang sa business walang criteria pero you always have your market parang tama pa ba itong ginagawa ko? Do I have to, switch things up? Something like that. Medyo malayo, pero parang...
No, I see it. Parang
yeah.
yung market mo, parang maraming judges, no? The only difference is that, you know what I mean? Like
Parang gano'n.
the customers
yeah.
are the judge. Tapos, like, they're ultimately going to decide if your product is worth buying.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like,
Parang gano'n. Parang gano'n. Medyo, it's quite different. Pero yeah, it depends din kasi sa nature ng business mo. So parang...
Yeah. I think
it
what's...
really depends.
I think what's important to note is this: while we're trying to highlight the similarities,
right.
I definitely do not think that just being a great dancer means you're going to be a good business person.
Right.
Right. Or obviously vice versa. You know, you can't just be a great business. You know what I mean? Parang it doesn't always, and it takes a special like personality, a special drive to sort of pursue both of those. Cool, man. I got two more questions for you. You know, and I think we'll be good to go. I'm glad the internet's working with us so far. So the one other question I have is, now that we're sort of in this new normal that we're in, how have you, how's your business adjusting to this? And maybe you can also touch on a little bit in terms of dance.
Yeah. So everything's online now, right? So because of this thing. So it's been difficult since my business is in the mall. So malls are ghost towns right now. So some are open, pero cinemas are closed. So yung business ko is in the cinema. I mean, dun sa area na yun. So I transitioned to doing it online. So right now, hindi pa siya like fully operational online. Though I already have the buttons, stickers, to adjust to it. And siguro I think I'm procrastinating on it kasi parang I think parang somehow may iniisip akong iba na parang better idea to do it. Pero yun nga, pero parang I have this plan already na pero parang hindi pa ako fully half-hearted ako siya gawin.
You mean like a completely different idea from what you currently have, or a different execution of adjusting the business?
Execution. Parang kasi parang no choice kundi online pero parang everyone's doing it. Ano yung pwede kong gawin differently to, hindi ko alam.
But that's a great question to ask yourself as a business person. You know what I mean? Like parang, consistently trying to see if, because again, when you go into that market, the great thing about your business stand was there was a specific location that people go to, and that's you, right? And now the market is wide open and it's saturated, and there's going to be a lot of players. So trying to figure out how to sort of separate yourself instead of just saying, I'm going to do it this way. I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yun. Pero eventually, siguro, kasi naka-stop lang siya.
Right. Yeah. And what about in terms of dance? What adjustments are you making there?
Actually,
or let's say specifically for the team, right? Because you mentioned before, na you guys were in the middle of training, and then things hit. So
stopped.
Right. So how have you guys been able to sort of navigate this new normal as a team?
Right. When this pandemic started, parang di ba yung mga teams may kanya-kanyang, uh, like events and everything. So when this started, parang nag-isip ka agad yung, parang nag-settle down kami, accepted that this is happening. Tapos parang, what can we do? Tapos parang yun nga, yung isa kong member, parang, oy, online dance competition. Yung wired. So parang, I think, di ko alam pero I think we were the first one to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I think. Kasi parang March pa lang yun eh.
Yeah, it was fast.
So,
yeah, I remember, yeah.
Yeah, it was fast. Parang, so yun na, dun nagsunod-sunod na yung competitions online, gano'n. So yun, parang thinking of ways na makapag-engage pa rin sa community.
Okay.
And, at home. Ano pa ba? We did some trainings.
How does that work out? Paano yun?
Ang hirap. Ang hirap niya. Pero, yung main thing na sinabi ko sa kanila is, I don't want to push trainings.
Yeah.
Kasi everyone's going through this differently. Yep. So, parang, we only had, I think, less than 5 trainings. Kasi parang everyone, parang nakikita ko sa kanila na, kasi kahit ako, like, iba yung impact for everyone, and for sure, for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And for some, they want to dance. For some, they just want to sit, relax, be with their family. Parang I cannot force them to train. Alam mo yun? Parang, and looking at the team, most of them are choosing to be to relax, to be with their family.
Yeah.
So, parang kung ako still touch base lagi, every day.
Yeah.
We started Saturday classes na.
Yeah.
Since August we started it na. Para somehow, if you want to dance, then go. Pero at the same time, open siya sa community.
Yeah.
Pero kumbaga, it's a way for you to be with the team. At the same time, hindi ka mapipilitan. If you don't want it, then don't. Alam mo.
Yeah.
So yun, parang dun ako na, kasi ako mismo, with my dad just, who recently just passed away.
Mm-hmm.
Na parang, syempre, I'm choosing, responsibility ko yung team, pero at the same time, my family is my first responsibility.
Yes,
so,
yes.
Yun, parang, people are stepping up. Yung officers ko, ganyan. So, naman sila, consistent naman sila na, if I'm not, feeling up to, checking, doing things for the team, naman sila.
Yeah.
So, parang, go ahead. Yeah.
It's really, it's important that, one, I want to catch the fact that, it was great that the first thing you were thinking really about is so much more about like how to still contribute and engage with the community, right? Because it's something that everyone's sort of going through. And I think number 2 is you're very right on that, which is, training is one thing, right? But we also have to sort of take a step back and look at this isn't just like a financial thing, right? This is a health thing. Man. There's like people are losing loved ones. There are just people who are going through difficult situations. It's hard to expect them to keep dancing through it. You know what I mean? And although we know that dance has a positive effect on that, like you're just going to eventually have to also really deal with that specific situation in your own best way. You know what I mean? Exactly. Are you a fan? I was going to ask are you a fan of like, you ever watch One Piece?
Yeah.
Okay. So like, I think for me, because this is like, parang when I think of this situation that we're in, it's like that, like if I was dealing with the team, I'd be like, you guys know that part in One Piece where parang they all separated na talo sila ng, what's his name? The guy with the K, it's actually the K. Parang light siya. Like,
feeling ko wala pa ako doon. I just started.
Oh my God.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
All right. Anyway. What's it? Okay. Well, you know Dragon Ball Z, right?
Right.
Okay. So I'm going to use this example. I don't want to spoil anybody. And sorry, I almost did, but
it's okay.
Just keep watching. But, like, how in DBZ you've got like the hyperbolic time chamber.
Uh-huh.
right? So parang for me, sometimes I think of this as like everyone's like sort of, even if you're not showing up to training, like this is your hyperbolic time chamber and you have the
Right,
time. And
right.
then like parang hopefully ang guide mo na lang is, hey guys, pag nakita na tayo ulit, sana we're just a little bit better than we were before.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So cool, man. I mean, that's good to hear. I'm sorry. Good to hear that you're watching One Piece. You're gonna
I just
enjoy that.
started episode 200 pa lang ako. So
Oh yeah, you got some good times coming. Cool, man. So
yeah.
let me get to this last question that I have, which is this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously, one of the big things is the pandemic, the lockdown, the quarantine, all of this. It's very very difficult, very hard. There's a lot of negative stuff about it, right? But like in your experience, or sort of like from how you can sort of see it, are there any positive takeaways that you feel like someone can sort of look forward to with what's going
Mm-hmm.
on?
Yeah. First is you really get to spend more time with your family. As in, you start to think about what's you know the value of things.
Mm.
As in, parang na-realize ako parang na-realize ko yung things that are really valuable to me na okay, parang sige, easy example for me, parang shoes kasi ano ko naging sneakerhead ako eh.
Yeah.
Na parang okay, so pero yung iba or talagang bumibili sila. Siguro yun yung way nila to cope up with this, diba? So I'm not taking away from anyone. Like we all have very different If you find value in that, then that's good. Ako parang yun eh, parang yung value ng things na especially yung how short our time is here.
Yes. Yeah.
And yun, parang more on life. Just, and me being a Christian, na parang, yes, these are very, very hard times, pero I still believe that, God has plans for us. I mean, He's in control. So, yes, kinakabahan ako, pero not to the point na, I lost my dad.
Yeah.
Na parang, yes, we are mourning, pero, we find comfort in knowing that he's in a better place.
Yeah.
He's got plans for our family.
Yeah.
And yun, parang, there's a lot of other people who are really having harder times than us. I think we are privileged. Alam mo yun, parang okay pa tayo eh. Okay pa tayo eh. Yun lang, na parang, I just, if ever you want to, if there's anything I want you to take out from me is, just spend time. Know what's important in your life, in your circle. Parang yun lang, parang as in doon ka umikot kasi from there parang it's a reset eh, this pandemic. And parang everyone's so consumed with being cool, being everything, magpayaman, and that's good, pero parang yung core thing is money can't, money, yes, is gonna help us buy stuff, pero it's not everything. But yeah.
Man, thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. I mean, and especially the stuff about your family and your father. Obviously, I'm really sorry to hear that, but thank you for sharing just like just a real story, right, of somebody who's going through something amidst this whole pandemic and still being able to sort of look at this is something that you can still rise from, and that's a very difficult thing, you know what I mean, and that's a testimony, I think, in and of itself. I like to think that this is something I always think about in my head whenever I'm trying to go through difficult situations is if ever I'm in a very difficult thing, I try to remind myself that life is seasonal, and so you're going to have those points where it's not very good, it might even get worse, right? But at some point, like, how bad does it still get? Eventually it's got to go up at some point, you know what I mean? And when I say this, it's not meant to downplay anybody's struggles. Like when you're
No.
there and you're there, you know, just really engage with it and deal with it as best as you can. But hopefully look to something, you know, that something positive coming in, whether that's for a person as a Christian or for a person who might believe in different things or whatever sort of drives them to sort of find that optimistic viewpoint. You know what I mean? I think that's super important. So, man, thank you for sharing that. Really thoughtful stuff. And I think probably one of the most important things to really take away from this is that, you know what I mean? So, cool, man. I appreciate the talk. This is crazy because like this is the first time in our chat where the internet was like just good. You know what I mean? So maybe it just means that there was some important stuff going on here.
I know.
I wanted to ask, so I guess this isn't really a question, but maybe you want to take this time to, you know, for the people that are watching, getting to know you for the first time, is there anything that you wanted to sort of, I guess, put out there or promote, whether it's like, you know, stuff for your dance team or your business or anything that you wanted to put out there?
Well, yeah, Project Morgan, Saturday classes, follow, like our page, Instagram, at Project Morgan PH, I guess.
Yeah.
Basta Project Morgan, nandiyan yan. Instagram and Facebook. Yun, Saturday classes.
Yeah.
Business, nag-stop kami ng Wewings namin. It's actually my wife's business. Wewings, probably October, we'll see.
Okay.
Wewings and ribs, yeah, we'll be back. And yung lemonade ko, it used to be Crazy Lemons, pero magre-rebrand now. So yun, abangan natin yan.
Nice. Let me know. Give me the details. I'll shoot them up here.
Yeah.
Sure. Also, quick question, because I never got to address it by that. But what's the meaning of Project Morgan?
Actually,
Is
medyo
there?
kalokohan lang sa'yo.
Okay.
No, wala talaga. Pero parang kaya, if napansin mo yung logo, it's a bear. It's parang nag-decide na lang kami na okay, yun na lang. Kasi parang, alam mo yung bananas in pajamas, for sure.
Yeah.
So, if, di ba yung Tagalog version si Morgan?
Yeah.
Yung bear, yung masayahing oso. Ayun. Sobrang wala lang. As in, joke time lang nung time na nag-usap kami nila James.
Yeah.
Wala.
That's good. Sometimes
nothing significant.
Sometimes that's the best stuff, no? I also love that too, na parang sometimes if like, let's say you make a piece or like you're making a dance, parang people watch it, they go, grabe, pinag-isipan niya talaga yun, no? Tapos at the end of it, you're like, hindi, kalokohan lang yun. Parang,
exactly.
Man.
TPM is known for that.
Yeah.
As in, winning piece nila.
Yeah. Yes, that exactly that. Shout out TPM. Cool, man. Hey, dude, thank you so much for this conversation. Thank you for taking the time. And again, for everybody watching, this is episode 2 of Let's Talk with Joey Nealega. And thank you guys for checking this out. And hopefully we'll see you next time. Bye.
Thanks. Bye, guys.